The camera moves through a crowd under glowing screens and neon lights. What if I told you the mark of the beast is already unfolding, and almost no one can see it? Not with fire, not with force, but silently, in the way we buy, the way we live, the way we choose. It's happening quietly and as easily as signing your name on a receipt. Have you felt it? That haunting sense that something is forming, and everyone's too distracted to notice? Most Christians today ignore prophecy, as if revelation were a closed book, but the silence of prophecy is the perfect ground for deception. And by the end of this video, you'll see why 666 is not about fear, it's about loyalty. And every day, we're being asked to choose. Welcome to Bible Stories and Mysteries. Here, we uncover the truths most people ignore. If you're hungry for clarity in a world of lies, subscribe now and turn on the bell, because the answers that could change your eternity are only here, and you don't want to miss them. It deceived the inhabitants of the earth with signs such as it had been allowed to perform in the sight of the beast, telling the inhabitants of the earth to make an image for the beast that had been wounded by the sword and revived. It was then permitted to breathe life into the beast's image, so that the beast's image could speak and cause whoever would not worship it to be killed. It forced all the people, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to be given a stamped image on their right hands or their foreheads, so that no one could buy or sell except one who had the stamped image of the beast's name or the number that stood for its name. Revelation 13:14-17. Now picture this, a world in silence, an invisible mark, already dividing hearts. Are you ready to recognize the signs? The crowd moves like a river of faces, distracted, lit by screens and sales signs. No one sees it coming, but 666 isn't waiting for the future. It's already here, whispering through systems, choices, and silence. You've heard of the mark of the beast. You've read the warnings in Revelation. But what if this prophecy isn't just about a future event? What if it's unfolding right now, one decision at a time? It deceived the inhabitants of the earth with signs such as it had been allowed to perform in the sight of the beast, telling the inhabitants of the earth to make an image for the beast that had been wounded by the sword and revived. It was then permitted to breathe life into the beast's image, so that the beast's image could speak and cause whoever would not worship it to be killed. It forced all the people, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to be given a stamped image on their right hands or their foreheads, so that no one could buy or sell except one who had the stamped image of the beast's name or the number that stood for its name. Revelation 13:14-17. The Bible doesn't just describe a mark, it reveals a system of worship, deception, and control, a counterfeit trinity offering not salvation, but compliance. Now picture this, a glowing hand scanner in a market, a silent refusal punished by starvation, a forehead unmarked and therefore unwanted. The scene feels futuristic, but the spirit behind it is ancient and already working. The mark is more than a symbol. It is loyalty. It is worship. And today, most don't even know whom they're worshipping. Every time we choose comfort over conviction, silence over truth, approval over allegiance to Christ, we edge closer to the mark without ever seeing it. And the danger isn't just out there. It's in churches that no longer preach revelation, in sermons that promise prosperity but never prepare for persecution. So let me ask you, if the mark is more about allegiance than appearance, would you recognize it when it comes? It didn't start on earth. Long before kingdoms rose and fell, before the first human bowed to temptation, a whisper of rebellion stirred in heaven itself. How you have fallen from the heavens, O morning star, son of the dawn! How you are cut down to the ground, you who brought the nations to their knees! You said in your heart, I will scale the heavens. Above the stars of God I will set up my throne. I will take my seat on the Mount of Assembly in the recesses of the north. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Isaiah 14:12-14. Lucifer did not fall because of weakness. He fell because of pride. He desired not just power but worship, not just a throne, but the throne. The war for your allegiance didn't begin with a chip or a seal. It began with a desire to dethrone God in the heart. Now picture heaven, not in stillness, but in war. Flashes of lightning, angels like stars, torn from the sky, falling through galaxies like sparks from a broken crown. Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels battled against the dragon. The dragon and its angels fought back, but they did not prevail, and there was no longer any place for them in heaven. The huge dragon, the ancient serpent, who is called the devil and Satan, who deceived the whole world, was thrown down to the earth, and his angels were thrown down with him. Revelation 12:7-9. Lucifer's pride became Satan's mission. His fall became the world's trial. What began as a heavenly insurrection became a cosmic infection. And now, every human life stands at the center of the same decision. Whom will you worship? Because that's what the mark is really about. Not just commerce, but allegiance. Not technology, but authority. When you choose to conform rather than obey, when culture defines your values instead of Christ, you're not just drifting, you're deciding. Worship isn't just a song you sing, it's the throne you bow to when no one is watching. So here's the question. If pride was the seed of Satan's rebellion, could self be the soil where the mark takes root? The desert wind howls, stones scatter under bare feet. 40 days, no food, no crowd, only silence, and the adversary. Then he took him up and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a single instant. The devil said to him, I shall give to you all this power and their glory, for it has been handed over to me, and I may give it to whomever I wish. All this will be yours if you worship me. Jesus said to him in reply, It is written, You shall worship the Lord your God, and him alone shall you serve. Luke 4:5-8. Satan didn't ask Jesus to murder, steal, or lie. He asked for worship, a single bow, one moment of submission. It wasn't about politics, power, or prosperity. It was about loyalty. Now picture this, a mountain cliff, the horizon lit with kingdoms, flags, and thrones, and a hungry man, fully divine yet fully human, standing before the choice we all face. The same voice that tempted Jesus whispers to you, just compromise, just once, bow, and you'll be safe, wealthy, accepted. If Jesus, the sinless Son of God, was offered the world in exchange for a single act of worship, do you really think the enemy asks less of you? The heart of the battle is not the beast. It's not the number. It's worship. What do you serve when no one sees you? What do you chase when your soul feels empty? The beast doesn't need to appear in fire and thunder. It wins when your heart says yes to comfort over conviction. Jesus answered with scripture. He stood. He didn't bow. And because he stood, we now have the power to stand too. This moment, this life, is your wilderness. And Satan still offers the same deal. So ask yourself, if the enemy promised you everything, would you bow? The number haunts culture like a shadow. 6666. It appears in headlines, films, tattoos, but few stop to ask what it truly means. In Revelation, it's not a symbol of mystery, it's a seal of allegiance. It was then permitted to breathe life into the beast's image, so that the beast's image could speak and cause whoever would not worship it to be killed. It forced all the people, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to be given a stamped image on their right hands or their foreheads, so that no one could buy or sell except one who had the stamped image of the beast's name or the number that stood for its name. Revelation 13:15-17. The mark is not random, it's not accidental, it is intentional and personal. Notice where the mark is placed: forehead, hand, thoughts, and actions. It's not just about buying or selling. It's about believing and obeying. Now picture a society where access to life is controlled by submission, a scan before every purchase, a silent threat behind every transaction, and at the center, a demand to conform. Many expect a physical sign, but what if the real danger is spiritual submission long before any visible mark appears? The number 666 is a counterfeit of divine order. God's number is 7, perfection, completion, holiness. 6 falls short. Repeated 3 times, it reflects complete rebellion against divine authority. To receive the mark is to agree with a system that exalts man above God. It is the ultimate declaration, I will not bow to the Lamb, I will bow to the beast. But here's the danger. The process begins subtly. Every time you justify sin for convenience, every time you trade truth for safety, every time you reshape the gospel to fit culture, the mark becomes more familiar. And here lies the question that splits history. If the mark begins not with a scan, but with a shift in loyalty, has it already begun? We keep waiting for the mark to come. But what if we've already seen its shadow in the way we live, scroll, spend, and chase? The enemy rarely starts with a demand. He starts with a distraction. Think about it. Millions spend hours building digital identities, bowing to algorithms for affirmation, chasing influence as if it were salvation. Brands define status, likes define worth, money defines value. Idolatry never left. It just updated its interface. Because of this, God greatly exalted him and bestowed on him the name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bend, of those in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Philippians 2:9-11. This is the real divide. Every day your soul bends, either toward the Lamb or toward the beast. Now picture a crowded street. People pass, eyes fixed on screens. Some kneel without realizing, not to statues, but to systems, to approval, to status, to comfort. You weren't made to blend in with Babylon. You were called to stand apart. Every purchase, every decision, every compromise, they're not neutral. They're forming your allegiance. You cannot serve 2 masters. Jesus made that clear. And yet many believers try to straddle both, seeking heaven, but building altars to comfort along the way. The mark of the beast won't surprise those who already chose worship over compromise, but for those who drifted without noticing, the shock will be that they're already aligned. So ask yourself, when your routine feels harmless, is it actually holy? The war isn't coming. It's already here, not in bombs or beasts, but in boardrooms, classrooms, living rooms, in every place where truth is traded for peace and courage is silenced by comfort. Faithfulness is no longer optional. It is the dividing line between the marked and the sealed. You shall not have other gods beside me. Exodus 23. This command was never just for ancient idolaters. It's for us, when we place security, success, or self above obedience to God. Now picture this, a massive crowd, each person holding out their hand. Some are branded, smiling, blending in, but here and there a few stand still, empty hands, exposed foreheads. They resist, even as the pressure builds. These are the faithful, not the loudest, not the most followed, but the ones who know whom they serve and will not bow. In a world where compromise is currency, faithfulness will cost you. You may lose influence, you may lose comfort, you may even lose your life, but you will never lose him. The beast thrives where loyalty is thin, where people forget who they are and whose they are. To follow Christ now means more than Sunday faith. It means weekday obedience, midnight prayers, costly decisions. The time is coming and already is, when saying, I belong to Jesus, will mark you as a threat. And when that moment comes, you won't have time to prepare. You'll only reveal who you've already become. So choose now. Choose when it's hard. Choose when it costs. Because the one who stood alone on Calvary now stands beside all who refuse to bow to the beast. Write this in the comments. I will serve the Lord. Let the world know your loyalty is not for sale. Heaven is not silent. Even now, as the world drifts into darkness, the throne still speaks, through angels, through scripture, through conscience. In Revelation 14, the final warning doesn't come from a prophet or preacher. It comes from the skies. Then I saw another angel flying high overhead with everlasting good news to announce to those who dwell on earth, to every nation, tribe, tongue, and people. He said in a loud voice, "Fear God and give him glory, for his time has come to sit in judgment. Worship him who made heaven and earth and sea and springs of water." Revelation 14:6-7. The first angel doesn't bring terror. He brings a call to worship, to return, to remember the Creator before creation becomes a trap. But then comes the third angel, and this one doesn't whisper. A third angel followed them and said in a loud voice, "Whoever worships the beast or its image, or accepts its mark on forehead or hand, will also drink the wine of God's fury, poured full strength into the cup of his wrath, and will be tormented in burning sulfur before the holy angels and before the Lamb." Revelation 14:9-10. This is not symbolic language. This is holy warning. A loving God shouting across time, "Do not bow, do not conform, do not be deceived." Now imagine the sky split open, an angel's voice echoing across the earth, not in silence but in thunder, a final plea as the world rushes toward the edge. If God sends angels to warn us, shouldn't we stop and listen? The warning is not about fear, it's about urgency, because worship is not optional. You will worship something. The question is, whom? You may never be offered a barcode or a biometric ID linked to worship. But you are offered choices every day, truth or comfort, holiness or hype, Christ or culture. So reflect deeply. If today were the final day of choosing, what would your life say about the one you adore? From the heights of heaven to the dust of Eden, from the wilderness temptation to the last book of Revelation, one battle has echoed through every age. Who will you worship? This is not a myth, not a metaphor. It is the central line dividing history, humanity, and eternity. On one side, the Lamb who was slain. On the other, the beast who demands what he never deserved. The choice is not coming. It's here, in every compromise, in every silence, in every moment when truth costs more than you want to pay. If it is displeasing to you to serve the Lord, choose today whom you will serve. As for me and my household, we will serve the Lord. Joshua 24:15. Now picture this: a valley, two altars, one soaked in the blood of the innocent, the other fueled by the fire of self. One calls you to surrender, the other lets you rule for now. But only one leads to life. The mark of the beast isn't just about the end. It's about every moment you choose something other than Jesus. And the seal of God, it isn't hidden. It's seen in the eyes of those who refuse to bow, in the faith of those who love not their lives, even unto death. You were born into a war, but you don't have to die confused. Choose the Lamb, choose the narrow way, choose the crown that comes after the cross. Comment below, "The Lamb has won," and let the world know which side you're on. Share this video with someone who's asleep before the final trumpet sounds. Subscribe to Bible Stories and Mysteries, because here we prepare the faithful for what others ignore. And above all, turn on the bell, because the truth you miss could be the one that saves you.